So one of the things we're doing in part of the Salesforce is getting these stand-up huddles to happen every week with people in the same role to talk about what they're doing and to share tips and tricks and really make sure that in the course of their work, of their role, that they're using AI to its fullest potential. This is Leading at the Frontier, a series of discussions around how AI is changing the nature of work and how you can lead your organization with confidence. I'm Katy George, Corporate Vice President of Workforce Transformation.
And I'm Jeana Jorgensen, Corporate Vice President of Global Skilling. Well, welcome to episode 5, our final episode. All right, Katy, first question for you.
Yes.
How do you use AI tools in your day-to-day job?
Well, we actually, on a previous episode, both talked about our love for researcher.
Yes.
I am now totally in love with the new product, Cowork, which I just find so exciting. I recently asked it to put together a PowerPoint presentation, reading a file that I had and going to researcher to do some research on my behalf and pull it in. And it does all of that together, which was super exciting. The funny thing is, I told it to make a boat chart, which is something that in my history is a really common kind of approach to having a chevron that describes a process. Apparently Cowork didn't know what that was, so it started building a picture of a boat. And it started saying, I am making the hull now. I'm like, no. And I interrupted in the middle. And I said, no, I meant this. And it created what I wanted. So that is very fun.
Similarly, I basically just use Copilot and Cowork to essentially orchestrate my day and say, okay, here's my list of priorities that are important for the company. How am I spending my time looking at my calendar, summarizing my emails, and say, were my actions in my day-to-day work actually mapping to what my priorities are, and how do I need to recalibrate if it's not matching? Which was wildly awareness driving for me. I couldn't believe what it surfaced.
Well, our next question is, how do you work with peers in AI adoption and create communities of practice?
Yeah.
I feel like every time in a conversation like this, I pick up an idea. And so I'm a big time management geek, always looking at how I spend my time relative to priorities. But I used to, whenever I'm on a plane, actually look at my calendar and kind of write it out. I haven't actually tried that with AI, but I will.
Yeah. It was life-changing, and I thought, oh my goodness, so it's really just eye-opening. One of the things that I think is a really great practice, which we started doing, which was we run these things called accelerators. Mm-hmm. And we basically have a foundational accelerator and then an advanced accelerator. So people who are just trying to get started and haven't written a line of code before and are trying to build their own workflow or their own agent, people just come and share their best practice. So there's 1 or 2 different topics each accelerator, and they're every single week at the same time. And people come and share and show what they did and what the outcome was. And people are like, I didn't know you could do that. So people are just watching people in real time learn how to do things they didn't know they could do, and it's phenomenal to see. And the advanced one is super impressive because people are really pushing the boundaries of the technology, and that is super fun to see as well. And so we offer those once a week, and people volunteer their time, and we have a lineup for weeks and weeks and weeks on end of people wanting to come present at these things and share what they're learning. So I love that practice.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, what's a surprising or funny way that you've used AI recently?
Okay, can I say that it wasn't me, but it was my mom?
Sure, yes.
So actually, you know what? I'm going to use the reference.
That your mom's using it. Great.
I know, unbelievable. I'm actually going to use the one of my son, which I thought was even more funny and more impressive. He wants to get his hair cut. And normally he would go on the internet and look at an image and say, I'd like my haircut look like this person. No, he actually used an image of himself, told him the type of haircut, and it generated an image of him with this new haircut.
Genius.
And he could look, and he showed it to the barber, and the barber's like, but that's you. Did you have this haircut previously? He's like, no, I generated it with AI. And the look on the barber's face was so stunned, and it was so amazing to see. And he's a young kid, right? But it's phenomenal to see how people are using the technology for so many interesting personal ways, interesting work as well, but the personal ways
totally.
are phenomenal.
I have a colleague who came in with this incredibly cute outfit recently. I was like, wow, I wouldn't have thought of that belt with that outfit. That's really cool. And she said, oh, Copilot put it together. I was like, okay. She's taking pictures of everything in her closet.
So impressive.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I have to say, so my sister and I are very close, and we give each other advent calendars, and it's become kind of a ridiculously elaborate thing. So we literally give each other 24 presents. We exchange them at Thanksgiving, and each of us chooses some theme. we'd done a cross-country trip last summer, so I decided to give her a gift from all the different states that we went to. And Copilot helped me identify fun presents from each state. And so she gave me a little gift associated with some Hallmark Christmas movie, and she had a little laminated card that had the picture. I found out that half of those things she had made up with AI. They had created this picture that looked like Hallmark actors with a Hallmark kind of.
Wow. That's such a great tradition, especially with your family. I
know.
Love traditions like that are so unique and personalized. It's just amazing.
But AI is like taking it to a new level for us.
How do you think we can encourage daily use?
Well, I think this notion, first of all, I love your AI accelerator, and this notion of communities of practice, and particularly communities of practice either around teams, but also around people of the same role, right? So one of the things we're doing in part of the Salesforce is getting these stand-up huddles to happen every week with people in the same role to talk about what they're doing and to share tips and tricks, and really make sure that in the course of their work, of their role, that they're using AI to its fullest potential. And we found that people are just amazed at what they uncover that they weren't doing and now realize that they can do with AI. So I think this whole notion of peer-to-peer community, sharing stories, best practices, and it's interesting, we talked about these huddles, and we were talking about, well, maybe now that we've driven so much adoption, we can stop them. And we said, no. This should now be part of the rhythm of business, is actually a weekly conversation about AI, because AI is going to continue to improve. People are going to continue to innovate how it's used. And so just thinking about that as part of the rhythm of business. This is just now part of our work routine, is to have conversations with the right group of people, and varied groups of people, by the way, to get ideas.
Yeah, and I always encourage our managers as well to say, just ask their employees, what'd you learn this week? Did you learn anything new? Tell me if you've learned something new, right? So there's just this community constantly that is sharing and learning from one another. And that's just cultural, right? That's cultural adaptation and ways in which we're encouraging people to share all the great things that they're learning with this technology. So Katy, I have loved doing this series with you. Thank you so much for being here. So excited. I know that you and I get the luxury of getting to talk to so many chief learning officers and CHROs globally, and these questions that have come up in this series has really been common questions that they've asked. So as we close out this series, what are the things that you think everybody should go do next?
Well, this has been wonderful to do this series with you, and I'm really so excited about the role that our CHROs and CLOs are playing to really make this a win-win for our people as well as for our businesses with AI. A few things, just based on this last episode, use AI yourself, and you need to learn it, but also make it visible to your team and to your peers about how you're using it. Share your successes, but frankly, also your failures. Be vulnerable. Everybody is learning and discovering new things. The second is create space for your teams to experiment so that they can continue to learn and adapt the way that they work. I love what you said in a previous episode, that this is not about change management. This is about creating a culture of continual evolution. The third, think about team-level rituals for sharing use cases, whether it's the AI accelerator that Jeana talked about or the peer-to-peer role-based learning that I described. But having that kind of regular rhythm and then cadence makes a huge difference. And then finally, build communities of practice to really scale your learning across your organization. Thank you so much for joining us.